Well, team, we finally did it. We managed to riot peacefully enough that we got Minneapolis to actually defund the police department in a city council vote. Congratulations. I don't see any downsides here. I see this as a 100% victory. Yes, this is the ISIS recruitment capital in America. And yes, there are currently problems of gangs in Minneapolis. But those ISIS fighters and gang members, the only reason someone would ever join ISIS is because of police brutality, specifically in America. Because when they were burning Jordanian fighter pilots alive and raping Yazidi women and turning them into sex slaves, the only reason someone ever would rape a Yazidi woman and turn her into a sex slave and then burn her alive if she refused, or just burn her alive because you want to, the only reason people burn and rape Yazidi women is because of the death of George Floyd. So now that Minnesota has defunded the police department, terrorism is over, crime is over, gang violence is over. Now, on the off chance, like, I don't know, like 1% chance that I'm right or anyone who isn't absolutely insane is right, 1% chance. This could end up pretty badly if you think about it, because there was, $55 million worth of damages by the mostly peaceful rioting. Mostly peaceful. I love the video of the CNN guy literally in front of a burning building being like, yeah, it's mostly peaceful here. It's like, dude, it's literally, the world's literally on fire behind you. Yeah. I don't even think I need to explain that when you have gangs or people who joined ISIS and you take away the police, do you not think there's one sociopath who would be like, I want to be the king of Minneapolis. This is my city. I'm going to try and take over. And now with the police not being here, I can, I don't know, do what like the old time mafia and criminal gangs. Like I could just force people to pay protection fees. Like I could take over. I could be the king of this place, right? This would be the Wild West. Like, oh, what are the odds that without the police that there'll be gangs warring for turf now that there's absolutely expanded turf for the like, well, what are the odds? What are the odds? I know like less than 1% that anything could go wrong, but just putting it out there. Putting it out there. Now, on the more serious side is I really hate the saying on the right of liberalism is a mental illness or whatever, or mental disorder. Like I really hate liberalism as a mental illness. I think it's stupid. I think it trivializes mental illness. I don't think liberalism is a mental disorder. Also, I consider myself pretty liberal. That's why I vote conservative. Now, however, what we are seeing here in the fact that you have city councilors vote to actually defund the police, this is a silly thing. Like I was like saying, propose a solution, like an actual solution. Body cams in all police. I've started something like mandatory liability insurance. That means you price bad cops out of the market because the unions won't want to keep them on. You could break up the unions, right? You can create a separate legal system and prosecution system for bad cops. You could, I said bust up. There's so many things. Mandatory body cams. Like there's so many actual solutions. But the left was so happy to just say no, get rid of the police entirely, defund police, because like most people thought like, okay, we'll never get that, which means we can scream into the infinite and pretend we're not being listened to. But then they got it, right? Now we have a situation where you actually, oh no, you got what you asked for. But in this case, leftism is actually acting like a pathogen, and sort of a fear pathogen. So you have to talk about like, okay, how is it that the majority of city council actually votes to get rid of the police department? Now, the way that says, okay, it's not actually, leftism itself isn't a pathogen. You'd say it was just fear. It was pure fear and intimidation. People were so afraid, right, that if they voted no, if they voted reasonably, right, they thought, there's no way this will pass. But if I don't vote no, right, there's no way it'll pass. Everyone else won't do this. There's no way it'll pass. But if I don't vote no, the mob won't come for me. So pure fear. Like, I was intimidated by the mob. I thought they would say mean things about me on Twitter, get me canceled, come to my house, burn it down. So out of fear, I voted to disband the police. By the way, do we get the police... Do we disband the police before or after we take away everyone's guns? And then how do we tell people that they don't need guns if the police are there? We'll solve that problem tomorrow. Now, that's the leftism isn't a pathogen, but then it's just like, oh my God, everyone was either tricked into or is too afraid, and this fluke thing just happened. The other thing is where it becomes sort of pathogenic here is, how did you get everyone to believe such an asinine idea? right? How did a whole city council come to the ban the police, ban them, right? There's people rioting in the streets, right? There's ISIS fighters, there's gangs, and you're like, yes, ban the police. I mean, the only way is, they got caught up in the defund the police movement. They got caught up in these sort of Black Lives Matter. You say the prayers often enough, you start to believe it, right? You go into the chapel in the middle of the street. You say your prayers, Black Lives Matter, no justice, no peace, defund the police. Then you do the ritual, you take the knee, you wash the feet, you're absolved of sin, and then you come out like a true believer. In this case, how did such a obviously terrible idea spread to what should have been quite reasonable people in defunding the police? So, I mean, this is where we don't need my analysis to say why taking away the police department in a city that has the highest ISIS recruiter rate in America might be a bad idea. Again, I can't see anything goes wrong. I mean, but also okay, shout out to my radical lefties here. If you're super Black Lives Matter, this is where you have to stop rioting now. Everyone on the left, you have to immediately stop rioting. If you're smart, if you want, you're right, you'd have to say, hey, this is what we wanted all along. Oh, defund the police? They actually got rid of the police? Okay, we're now happy. All the violence stops. See, we're capable of not stealing a bunch of Nikes. It was really police brutality that made me steal all those Nikes, right? But now that we have gotten what we want, we can show that we can be peaceful, right? There's no more violence, right? Minneapolis defunded the police. There's no more violence. Hey, you get rid of police here, and there'll be no more violence. But of course they're not going to do that. They're going to keep burning things down, and then let's just see how this one plays out. And I say good news is, I'm a big Packer fan, so they have a much easier shot of winning the division if everyone in the Vikings stadium is dead, or you just can't get to the stadium because it's taken over by some sort of quasi-ISIS gang. Either way, go Packers.